All right, we're going to start recording chapter 1. Everyone, your exercise will be in this folder here in chapter 1, the Autodesk Revit World on DDSN191 Revit. We're going to get her going. So we'll click the file. It's Imperial Default Autodesk Revit Template file. Let's download it. I already have it downloaded to my desktop, so we'll cancel that, but you do this, whatever you need to do there. I have it on page 5 here in my book, my ebook. Let's go to Windows Explorer, show my desktop. Let's open up that file by double clicking it. You could also open it up, which I usually recommend with most softwares, by opening up the application first. Let's do that. We're going to start diving into this BIM software, Revit, the industry leader in building information modeling. It all starts with this, and we're going to bust right into the first few pages here. Right as we open, the majority of your CAD of any experience has been in a 2D environment for a lot of you. This is not going to be quite the same. We're going to have some 2D views, but it's mostly a modeling 3D drafting experience designed for architects and engineers. So we can say new, go to some template files here in our opening splash screen, and some of these are linked here as well. But let's see what that looks like. Most of our drawings on this are going to be architectural templates for now. This would start a very new drawing similar to what I'm about to open, but let's hit cancel now. Let's open the drawing I just brought to my desktop from my chapter 1, Imperial Default. Let's go to my desktop. Let's open it here. Now, you'll notice previews on any file in Revit. It'll show the most previous view right here, which is helpful. Depends on, as we see backup files being saved 4 to 5 times in the past, it'll help you determine which file is the one to use by looking at that preview oftentimes. All right. While it's opening up, we're going to bounce down into page 4. You can follow along with your books while you try to draft at the same time. Might be helpful. I'll try to go slow enough. We'll see how these go through the semester. I have my view screen open here on level 1 by default. My floor plans and my project browser. It is bolded. We're going to start. Very first thing is looking at the ribbon here quick. Revit is a ribbon-based program, like a lot of the programs you're used to seeing now, even AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Adobe, Microsoft Office Suite. And we're going to stay a lot of times in this architecture tab up here. Here's our quick toolbar. We'll talk about a little bit of that later. We can customize it here, adding things. Almost all the things are added here. Let's add new just for fun. See that added there. Here's our application menu right here, file, excuse me. Some of our main things we're going to be doing from a new, saving as, exporting, printing. Hit escape. Escape gets you out of most commands in Revit, cancels them. So does right click and cancel. Left click and enter, mostly left click, but both at times accept commands. And that's very common to AutoCAD as well and some other drafting software. So let's get started by making our first element in Revit on page 4 and 5. We're going to make it just a wall. You notice here when I hover on it, a lot of videos show up. This is very helpful to learn commands, to figure them out. WA would be the alias command. We'll get into more of that later. We can customize the alias commands. Some are already default to Revit. Let's left click on it. Brings up, as we start, we pick what object we want. We just picked a wall or noun. Now we have some things that come up in what we call the options bar. Very critical to know how to use the options bar, where it's going to be located as we place it initially, what it snaps to, if it's going to chain, continue to draw it without not drawing one at a time, certain radiuses, offsets from your origin point. You might want that as you draw. Your properties box also comes up, very critical. So these are all part of your adjectives. What noun you describe, what thing you're going to want to create. Now, how are we going to describe it? What's it going to be? In this exercise, we're going to pick, let's see, 20 in there. We're going to pick a wall eventually down the road with this in mind, exterior brick on CMU and metal stud. But for now, let's start by just talking about the interface, okay? And I'll get into that later. So we've now selected our adjectives, what we want it to be, this type of basic wall. I'm just going to draw this quick. Here to here, I'll snap it. Revit likes to stay tangent and increments by default. So that's helpful when you're drafting. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to accept that wall. I have one element now. When I hit escape again, you can see it goes back to my standard cursor, which is the arrow pointer. You can also get it by doing that, by hitting modify, which is one of your main commands. It's what you pick things with. But if you hit escape twice to cancel out of command, it'll go back to that. So you want to see this. So going on into page 6, the ribbon, we have a lot of stuff going on. I talked about the quick access toolbar up here. We have undo and redo. Also very commonly Control+Z and Control+Y for redo, Control+Z for undo. You'll use those all the time. Save, open, new all the time. Home, you'll use that once in a while. Let's go back. Print, measuring inferences, dimensioning, very simple single dimension, call out sections, and various other things. Ribbon, we'll be mostly in this tab, ribbon tab, and inside each tab is a panel. This is the build panel. This would be the opening panel. We have metal structures or structural engineering kind of zone here. We have a whole different ribbon for designing that. Steel, welds, weldments. A lot of it has to do with structural engineering. We have a ribbon tab and then these individual panels in there. Systems, a lot of ductwork, MEP, HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing is what that stands for. Conduits, fittings. We're not going to do a lot of this stuff, but it is in here for building design. There's some more stuff for later, but we'll start just by going over these really quickly. This is a lot of importing, exporting, mostly importing from other CAD sources and other data files. Annotating, we'll be covering this later in the book. Lots of ways to annotate, tag, text, spell checks, elevations, section callouts, dimensions. Very similar to AutoCAD in some ways. Analyze, a lot of deep analyzation tools for loads, heating, cooling, structural components. I don't suspect we're going to be in this much, but we'll see as I go in the book and learn it better. Mass grade siting, massing and site. This is a lot of civil engineering, parking lots, topo surfaces can be imported, property lines drawn to help you understand the whole site of a building. Collaborate, we'll skip that one for now. Lots of collaboration between host servers and things like that. View, we're going to be in here quite a bit, switching between windows, turning things on and off in the user interface over here, tiling our views to like different squares and tabs. We're on the tab view right now, which means each view of our inside of our template or model file is going to have its own view, but you have many views within one model open. So we're going to see that. Here I'm going to open a different view, east elevation view, okay? I'm going to go back to my level 1 view. So they toggle between both of these. Now they're both open. That's going to be happening all the time. I'm going to close the east elevation view, which is over here. That's where it's looking. Close that. And we're going to talk about properties and the project browser. Pretty critical things. We start chapter 7 and into chapters after, or excuse me, page 7 and page 8 into page 9. Properties box is much like AutoCAD. It stays open all the time. we're on the level 1, but if you select a noun, this wall, basic wall, different properties come up. You can change things. This is going to be very critical to understand how and what this does. It's just the beginning here, but this is going to, I often like to dock it to the left here on default. And you can pull a lot of these out. There's ways to lock your user interface, but I'm not going to do that now. Pull it out. You can move it around your screen, possibly to different locations. It will show blue like this when it says it wants to dock. You can dock it into other screens horizontally and vertically. So what that means by that is this one just went over the top of it. So I have 2 tabs here. To get back to properties, they're over top of one another. You might like it like that. I'm going to try to do this. You can dock them into each other oftentimes. Also, it helps to hit escape. Let me pull this out and see if, there we go. I undocked both of them by dragging it out from underneath it. Let's try to dock them vertically to each other. Drag that to the side, practice this. This is helpful to know with some of these user interface items like project browser and properties that you're going to use all the time. Drag it in a certain area, not down here. This means it's going to go to dock to the bottom. See the blue? I'm trying to get it to dock on top of, there we go. See that? Briefly, I had it. There we go. It wants to dock only part of it. So I'm having trouble doing that on the bottom one. Let me just try doing this again. Let's try doing project browser first. Let's try doing properties on top of it. It seems to like to default to go to the top, the north. There we go, right there. It's just dragging those around, getting familiar with that. That's helpful to know how to do that. But the properties dialog box describes instance properties, properties that show up in an instance of the item you select. So this is what it is, instance properties. If I hit escape, it's back to just my properties in my view. Okay, I showed you a little bit of that in the user interface. Let's go back to the view tab of the ribbon. And if you ever lose some of these boxes, especially properties and project browser, go to the view tab. There's other ways to do this, but this is easiest. User interface and turn them on back here. Turn them on or off. Navigation bar, off. That one's helpful. You want to know that. Navigation bar is down here. I believe it tells you commands after you pick what to do. It's very helpful to talk to you. Let's turn it off. Okay, turn that back on. That's the status bar, excuse me. That was the status bar down here. That's helpful to tell you what to do next in your command. System browser, I like to sometimes leave on, but I'm going to leave it off. We're not going to need it right now. It likes to default to the right. This we will not need as much for mechanical, electrical, plumbing. P and ID we won't need as much. It's for piping systems. View cube we'll use a lot, but it only can get activated when we're in a 3D view. Right now we're not in a 3D view. We're in a top floor plan view. Floor plan or top view, very similar things. If you're used to mechanical, topographic view and civil, floor plan views from the top in architectural construction. Moving on to page 9, we're going to talk about type properties really quick. And type properties are a little different. They're not instance properties. They're properties that when we pick this element, this wall, for example, every basic wall, exterior brick on CMU, we could change the type properties right here is one way. There's other ways to get there. that will change every single type of that item in the drawing. So you gotta be very careful when doing that. We're not gonna be doing a lot of that initially. We're just gonna learn how to draft and use it. This edits the entire type of this family, basic wall or curtain wall, whichever one we choose, and the very specific type within it. So this is a lot more powerful for editing all instances of that object inside of your model. And you got to be very deliberate on that. Also, when you select an item, you'll see this is called contextual ribbon editing. You select said noun, very specific things come up on your contextual ribbon that pops up with it for things to do. It's very helpful to learn a program by this means of contextual ribbons. So you have modify, you have all the things you need here for the most part when you select a wall, right? It's helpful with learning a program. So there's another way. We can go to properties. I turned it on and off. Here's another way to get the type properties of this selected wall that I had pre-selected here. Also, you can go up here, edit type. You can go right here, similar symbol, but a little smaller. Okay, and that takes you back to here as well. Preview, hit preview, and it shows you preview as I change things. I didn't quite get the right change there. This is absorbance. That's not going to change how it physically looks. I haven't done a lot of editing too deep in here, but you can get pretty deep in how these things look. We're going to stay out of there. We'll hit cancel to not accept. Leave that wall as is. Okay. Left click to get off. We're going to go to page 11. We're already in page 11. Let's see. I already covered that, where the wall is placed. We'll get to drafting in a minute. Let's see. We'll start drafting on around page 13. So when we start drafting, more of this will make sense. What things to pick in your options as we pick a wall. Let's delete this wall, select it, and hit delete, quite simply, or you could hit this button, delete, or DE. You notice when I hover on commands, you can see the little acronym next to the bold delete. DE is the same alias command you can type in your keyboard to get that as well. So you're going to find yourself memorizing some of those if you want to be faster at this. But knowing where they are in the ribbon is more helpful to start. So this big white area is the view window. It's always very prevalent to any view we pick within the project browser of any model. Okay. We're going to start going into chapter 13, our first command, and we're going to add a wall again. So we're going to start with the wall command and find the correct wall type. And we're going to pick a point, and we're going to start drafting, and we're going to draft the wall to a certain dimension. So let's go back to our architecture tab, pick wall. Let's just go somewhere, if you follow on page 14, kind of down in here, in this general vicinity. It doesn't have to be precise, okay? In this case, let's pick here, left data click to start the command. Started. So you watch your status bar. This tells you what to do a lot in drafting, as well as your options bar up here. It tells you what you can do in your properties, what you can do while you have it opening, your adjectives of your noun. We're in the middle of our verb right now, though, our action, placing it. So I'm dragging it around. Let's just drag it horizontally, and this is in a grid pattern to snap every 6 inches, which is really helpful for drafting sometimes. You can also just start typing something in. I hovered to 100 feet just by moving my mouse, like so, or I could just get it in the right orientation, horizontal, and type 100. Okay, see it on my screen to the right of that, my cursor. I'll hit enter, enter. And I go up, it still keeps going because in my options, I have chain selected. That means it continues. It's very basic, but that'll come in handy to know your options a little bit as we're placing the wall. One thing I did not do 100% correct that the book wants you to do is it wants you to justify finished face exterior. I have mine justified in wall center line. That's okay for now. Let's just continue on. And we'll go 80 feet. Type in 80, hit enter, or I'll hit escape. We'll add another wall. We'll type in 80. Hit enter again. And I made that wall. So let's just start the command over again. Hit delete. We'll do it all in one swoop. Just showing you how you can stop and do it again. Left click, 100. Hover north without clicking or anything. Type 80, enter. Go to back to the east. Type in 100 again. Now, pull your cursor straight down, type in 16. And just for the case of explanation, hover over a little bit. Let's just hover to 16 and hit left data click. Okay. We have our figure drawn on page 15. Let's hit enter. Now, we're going to focus on our next thing is crossing windows. So we're on page 16, 17 on the book. Should look a little like this. Drew it. We're going to learn a little bit about windows, crossing windows to one side or the other. You cross from the left to the right, it grabs anything it touches. If you cross from the left to the right, you have to encompass it. Now, let's see what that really means by doing it. So crossing windows are very critical to CAD drafting. So I go this way from the left to the right, it doesn't grab anything unless I encompass the entire object, and it grabs it. Now the opposite is true, and this is just drafting 101, but you're going to figure it out pretty quick. If I do a crossing box from right to left, it'll touch anything, it'll be selected in my selection set. We'll do this. Release, left click. So they just do different things and selection set acquiring different ways. Very simply, that's it for that. On page 17, we're going to try a new modify. We're going to pick it in a different order. You can do it in a different order. You can either select the item first and then execute the command, the noun first, and then do the adjective and verb, or you can select the command, the verb, the action, and then select the noun, the object to be modified. You can do it both ways many times in Revit. In this way, we're going to select it in the way that we're gonna, let me check here, make sure. We're gonna select the object first. So we're gonna select the noun first. Let's do a crossing box and get both of these on page 18. And since we did that, our modify prompts come up. And this contextual ribbon is gonna be your friend. It wants us to, in the book, mirror with a draw axis on figure point 122, okay? That's our command we're gonna pick. We're gonna left click that. Now this part, go slow. It changes to a crosshair. You can see my crosshair has that command on it. And make sure our copy box is selected. I'm looking for that right now. Let's make sure I have the view of this open. Looks like I do. One second here. Okay, there it is. Copy box is selected in my options. It's the only option here on the modify wall, mirror by axis. So let me get back to it on page 19. I just had trouble seeing that in the first go. It says we want to mirror the axis of reflection So it's telling us what to do again. This is very helpful to watch. And also if you hover in certain areas, it'll tell you what to do. See how it changed, added words here? Similar to, if you move a little bit, it should do the same. Anyway, let's pick the middle of this wall and be very, if you need to zoom in, this is going to be helpful to get your O snap, your object snap, midpoint. You'll see that triangle as your object snap. Left data click. Now, we're going to go from the inside face to this direction. Let me just make sure I go to the right distance. That's our alignment line in the middle here, okay? That's our axis of reflection of that object. Now let me left data click. Did not quite get it. Try that again. Object, mirror, pick axis. Copy is on. There we go. It's in that direction. There we go. I was a little more careful that time to stay in the horizontal position. I thought I was before. I might have gone too far out this way. So it should mirror and look like this. If you got the right pick spot to mirror it about, and then the right horizontal mirror spot. Okay. Going on to page 20 into 21. A lot of times you'll be zoomed in. This is one of my tricks. I'll do my mouse click in the middle roll wheel. Oftentimes is default to zoom all. See how I just zoomed to the extents? We can also type in, it recommends on page 20, ZA. That also goes, that's a common alias command for zoom all. I prefer the middle mouse click, but okay, on page 21, give me a second to get there. We're going to go to modifying a wall again. So we're going to just pick one wall. Let's pick, I don't know. Let's pick this one like the book does. We're going to look at our options that come up. You can also right click and say create similar. It'll let you select any Revit item and create a similar object by right clicking it. Okay. Well, we have it selected and we're going to pick our verb now to create similar. Now we have options up here to draw, do other things, modify what exactly we have selected. We're going to pick an arc in this case on step 6 on page 21. It's going to be called a start end radius arc. So you go to your start, then you go to your end, and then you form your radius. So this is a little tricky. Let's go slow through it. Make sure our location line, and this time I'm going to set this correct, is set to finish face exterior. Okay. Go slow there for you. And now we're really going to zoom in. We're going to pick the start point of the arc first. Let's zoom way in. We see my square O-snap highlighted. That means it went to an endpoint. Let's go to the endpoint of this arc. Excuse me, I had something wrong there. I still had a line. Let's go back to this, select similar. Place wall. That's all good. This was not selected. I had a straight line. I was just going to draw another straight line. There we go. This is selected. Chain is selected. We don't really need it in this case, but it's always nice to have. Let's go back here. Endpoint. Let's go to now to the endpoint. We just did the start point. Okay. Be careful not to pick on this last command. It wants the radius. And see how it does feet, inches, and fractions. Now, if you drag out you can see it modify as we go, which is nice. You can get alignment lines, those dash lines going. Let's get an alignment line out here as we go out. It will recognize when the curve is tangent to the straight part of the wall, which is really helpful. So especially in civil engineering, even in a lot of other applications of engineering, including architecture, it's very critical a lot of times to draft things tangent to a curve or an arc. So where there is no, where it's basically a straight 90-degree difference between the diameter of the arc and the said straight entity to either side of it. That's what it means by tangent. There's no odd degree shift in there. It's 90 degrees between the center diameter, which is right in here, and the wall up here. It's 90 degrees exactly. So we're going to hold it out there. We'll left click, accept that. We're going to hit escape. Boom. Now, some of you might have a jog like this, and that's okay. I'll show you how to fix that real quick. We'll just pick a different part of the wall because it's easy to snap in the wrong spot. Let's delete it by selecting it. Hit delete real quick. Looking for, okay, architecture wall. Again, let's try going from here and see what it looks like. We're gonna select the same options, start, end, radius, arc. We're gonna say, yes, finish face exterior. You can play around with these, depending on where you got to pick to get them to match. I'm gonna select the inside of this now. And you'll just see that, this is my endpoint. It will go to a different spot now where they match up the external sheathing of the building. They're much closer now, or I think pretty much coincident. So you might have to play with that, how you place things on top of each other, okay? We're doing a lot more of that. Page 23, I'm gonna let you guys stop for a minute and go back over the learning the last few pages, pause this, and then we'll go on to the next part 4 of this chapter and look at some views. So pause it now, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, back to page 23 on chapter 1. We're going to talk about view control and object display. So going down to the view control bar down here, boom, it's different graphical views of your model. And this is very important to understand that each view, each area, you can control how things appear differently between one another in each of these views. They're independent of each other, how they look. For example, let's go to east elevation view, which is over here pointing to the building. Let's see what it looks like. It's a lot different, doesn't it? We have some annotations of our elevations with some annotation scale, and a phantom line cutting through it. And we have some graphical representation of our curved wall and our just our regular wall. Looks different. Let's go back to level 1, top view. Anyway, moving on to some of what's in the view control bar, we're going to go to the scale. So scale is important with mostly annotations, dimensions, and stuff. So here it is. Let's change it from 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. Revit's commonly in architectural inches. Okay, not tenths and hundredths of an inch like civil engineering and surveying usually is. It's more for structural construction and architecture. Let's bump this up to something smaller. Just pick one. Half the size, 1/16 of an inch equals a foot instead of 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. Boom. Change these a bit. Let's see what that did to our small east elevation view. These got smaller. So let's toggle it with this view in mind. They size up. This is very powerful for annotating and doing drawings. Very powerful, and they work seemingly pretty well in Revit compared to AutoCADs. I've had a lot of issues in AutoCAD. This is a lot smaller, obviously. Getting these to work right. Civil 3D is a lot better, but AutoCAD, MicroStation work not the best always. And Revit is designed around a lot of this with annotating, so that's good. That's to show you what's actually happening there. Now on page 25, let's go to the detail level control. And remember, this is just controlling it in this view. Okay, so when I go to here, my top view, this is different. It's where I left it. So all these in the view control bar stay with each view. Very important to kind of grasp that over time. Let's change this to from coarse to fine. Just to ask for automatic save. I did it. Let's go a little further in. Let's see what coarse looks like. Takes out a little bit of the detail. It gets even more noticeable. Let's go to our top level floor 1 view. Let's go to fine. It'll really start to show the graphical representation of the wall a lot more. A little easier on the graphics cards and stuff when you live on more coarse views. I'm still learning some of this, but I guarantee it's going to be a little easier the bigger the model gets. Okay, the view tab, page 35. Let's see. We already covered a little bit of that. Let's hit escape out of our commands. We already are. Modifies a tab that's also on the end by default. Get familiar with that one. The view tab as well. We showed you a little bit of this, turning these on and off. Okay. One thing also in the view tab, we're going to look at, I showed you what it means to turn these on and off. Let's also look at thin lines, thick lines. This is a helpful one. Toggling this on and off. We almost have to zoom in a little bit better to see what it does. Between thin and thick default settings for any said element. This can be helpful depending on what view you're printing, if it's a tight section view or not, or a more overall floor plan view. And there's different ways to edit these, but hidden lines, the lines behind things, we don't have much of that going on right now. That would be big with like bolts. That would only be in the middle of something. Like on this video here, for example, that shows where, if you're watching it to the right of the screen, that shows where the foundation goes in the ground. Another thing we're going to see is on the nav view here. This is the navigation bar. That's how you turn it on and off. There's other ways, but this is the main way. Let's turn it back on. This is only a 2D view, so you have a little less options. You can do different zoom to fit, zoom to region. We can also get the wheel out here, up here. This is a little bit newer to a lot of people. In AutoCAD, all the commands get stacked up if you zoom, pan, and Revit. Thank God that that's not a thing. Only the commands that you have to undo and redo are actual physical things you do, not zooming, which you do a lot of zooming and panning anytime you draft. So, but you can go to previous views through this method. You get your wheel out and go to rewind. If you hold the left click down, you can go to different parts of where you were looking in the model. This could be helpful to like visualize if you're being really surgical on where you're working on. That just rewinds the panning and zooming and orbiting, which we're not doing in this one. So that's handy. We got zoom and pan. This is just a 2D view. So you hold zoom, you go in and out. Pan, hold that down, and pan around. I also like to use the middle mouse roller to zoom I like to use the middle mouse button to pan. I like these more. And in a 3D view, this is a elevation view from the side. Let's go to a 3D view. Starting up here, let's just do a default 3D view. This is the next one I'm going to show in the View tab. That's our 3D view. We have our view cube over here. That can be turned on and off here. Now it's available because I'm in a 3D view, the view cube. We're able to go to very specific isometric views. Building. Back to the top, still 3D. Top, north, east, south, rotating like this. North usually is north. That's usually a good way to keep it, but we can go back to an isometric view. You have different options show up on this bad boy, on the navigation wheel and the navigation bar. Select that. You have different 3D options to do walking and centering and moving around in a 3D manner. So orbit's on. Now you can repick where you pivot. Where you pivot's critical. So when you orbit, where you're pivoting is where you orbit around with holding the left click. Left click and shift is another way to do it. So if I hit escape, I just hold shift plus the center roller button is another way. If you're in 3D view, you can just orbit around. It's very handy. Instead of using the navigation wheel over here, you can just start orbiting around by holding shift and middle roller button. Zoom, if you hit control and scroll back and forth on your mouse. And pan, if you just hit the center of your mouse roller button and hold it. So pan, hold the center button of your mouse in a 3D view. Zoom, same roller button, hold down plus, control, and then go in and out with your mouse. Orbit, 3D orbit, hold shift and left click, shift and once again, the middle mouse button, and you can do that as well instead of going to here. Okay, we're going to go to page 30 or past page 30. We already talked a bit about the different thick and thin lines in the view tab and how to get to 3D view, how to turn those on and off. Okay, we're going to go to page 29 and we're going to turn some more things off in the view control area. And remember, this is just for the 3D view now that I'm playing with. I'm going to turn on and off some shadows. Turn them on here, off, on. Wouldn't really do a lot in a front view. Turn the sun path on. That says where the sun's going to hit in a certain location. So you can study, your solar gain in a building where it rises certain times of the year predominantly, right? That could be really big. You orientate your building about this. I'm going to turn this off for now. Turn the shadows back on for fun. What else do we want to show in here? Let's show this one. Different graphic display options. You can get deep on these, but let's just keep them pretty simple for now. We got realistic, which is more a rendered version of brick and masonry walls in this case, right? I'll turn the shadows off to take a little off there. You have consistent colors, has more of a monochrome. You have realistic, we did wireframe to see through it like an X-ray. Hidden line to see hidden lines behind. And dashes, that's not going to show too much here. You see also when I hover on an element, it tells me everything about it in my command or my mouse hovering, at least not everything, but enough so I know what element it is, what type it is. Moving on to page 30, we can show you how to save a view really quick. If we go to this home icon here, I'm going to save a unique 3D view that I just really particular. Let's say I do realistic. Let's say I do shift and center button. Let's say I have it looking like this, just like this. I'm going to save this view here. Say save orientation and lock this view. It's my home base for this view. Say 3D. You got to take these tilde or these brackets out. It doesn't like those. Say errands. Hit OK. And it saved it in here. Okay. So let's just go back to my top level. I just have just this view open in my model. Let's go back to 3D view. Default 3D view is default, of course. It always looks like this to start. Let's go back to the view I just saved right here. Left click it twice. There it is. Saved it. Kind of a frozen state in time. That's it with that. Play around with the views. Take a minute. The navigation wheel, renderings, turning things on and off in the view control area, zooming around, the view cube, the navigation wheel, turning things on and off in the user interface, your view control area. Give it a bit, play with that, and then we'll move on to the next part, the project browser. So we're gonna move on to the project browser, which is right here. I like to dock it to the left with my properties. And the project browser is your basically your building information modeling, your BIM software, Windows Explorer. It lets you bounce all around the model easily, quickly, fast. On your typical job, you're using Revit all the time in the project browser instead of a folder structure. A lot of traditional CAD, the workflow is a lot different than that. You have a lot of drawings that make up a large drawing that are referenced into it. And most Revit models, they're all contained in one drawing as much as possible, if not most times. And your project browser helps you do that, to bounce around different views of the same model. So everything is mostly self-contained in one model. And it's a more useful way to contain all drawings and element in one and only model at a time, unlike AutoCAD and Civil 3D, which a lot of times to accomplish, let's say, all these sheets that we're doing quickly, you have to have multiple drawings referencing to each other. So it decomplexifies things, I guess, if that's even a word. So if we go to page 32, we have, it's just telling us what these are. We've already been messing with them a little bit, but our views are our topmost area in the project browser, all of them. Let's cascade it back down again. Your floor plans, ceiling plans, 3D views, which starts with the default one. I just made a new one, elevation views. Those are your starter ones. We're going to go into level 2 of the floor plan, okay? Double clicking it, left click, takes us to it. That's step 3 on page 32. The wall looks a little different than level 1, right? It's because your display is set to coarse. That's part of it. They want to make you make some changes, possibly, but you could change it to what you need, depending how you want to see it. And the last thing they're getting at on the next step on page, step 4, these little things, these icons here that I have selected, look like little houses. They're not necessarily that, but they are dynamic. It's called an elevation marker. So I have it, I'm going to move it to the right of the building. So it actually has dynamic properties once I do that. So let's say I have it selected, my selection set, both of them I cross-boxed over it. I'm going to go to move up here for my contextual ribbon, right? That came up when I selected it. I'm going to move this whole object over here. 2 left clicks. I just moved it. I left clicked or hit escape again to end the command. Nothing's highlighted anymore. So I moved that elevation box, or excuse me, elevation marker. Next steps. Let's see. West, east, north, and south. We're going to go to our elevations to the south. And it's just wanting us to go to navigate there, to look at our south elevation. Nothing too special. Here's our curved wall. Here's our little jogged wall. Here's our main part of our wall, right? It's just showing us a different view from the south in our project browser. Windows. We've already been doing a lot of that. Go between our windows here, easy enough. Level 1 to default 3D view, to this 3D view custom I made, to level 2, course view, which looks a little different than level 1, but these are now corresponding, right? I believe they are. Yeah, they look to be. And they're south elevation view. So I'm just bopping between them. So things like these elevation markers, go back to level 1. These are pretty critical. You don't want to blow them up or do too much to them. They're dynamic elements, such as section markers when you cut through a wall, call outs. They're not just dumb blocks or dimensions. They're linked to this actual view that they're on and calling out. It's pretty critical we'll start to understand that later. If you delete one of them, those markers, you will delete the view associated with it. So let's see if I can demonstrate that here. I'll take this one to the elevation view east, okay? Hit delete. It warns me that view elevation east will be deleted, okay? Which is right here. Hit okay. It's gone. So they are dynamic, some of these elements in the model. I'm going to hit Control Z or go up here to undo as well. So some of those are very important to understand. They're dynamic and how they work together in the model. Let's go to page 34. Mess around with some of the interface of the views. A lot of times, we can switch windows this way. I just went to a new one here. Or back to this 3D one. Or we can just bounce between them like this. Left data clicking. I prefer that, but we can tile the views, all 5 of them. Let's zoom out with our middle mouse. Have a bunch of them on at once as we're modifying things. This can be very helpful. I'll untile them by going back to just tab views up here. TW. I'm going to do my zoom all. You can type in either ZA, practice it now, or you can practice double mouse clicking in the middle. So we're back to zoom all. And lastly, on page 35 in this area, let's go back to commands for keyboard shortcuts. So another thing with user interface, we can go to that area again. Left data click, and this will take us to our keyboard shortcuts. Or you can type in KS. See how everything has acronyms to it? That's another way to get to it. Just typing in KS. We'll try that right now. KS. It comes up. Hit escape. Go back to here. We'll go this way. Keyboard shortcuts. Not everything has things assigned to it. This is something with an assigned shortcut. This select links is not. You can add, remove. You can go to this one, remove it by selecting a new key. You actually got to hit a key. I hit R, say that's now the command for modify. Or you can remove it and say MD. It's now removed. Remove it from this particular command. So you can modify a lot of those, very customized. I'm going to cascade this column by ones with shortcuts. We'll go opposite alphabetical. So there's quite a few. You'll get to know the ones you like to use the most. It's similar to AutoCAD. It helps you kind of navigate with commands and with the ribbon. Depending on how you do things, they can both work well hand in hand to get together. Anyway, let's just hit escape from there for now. And we're going to go to the bottom of page 35 and hit save. It's been a while since we've saved. Pretty important. Then we're going to go to save as. Which didn't quite work the way I expected it. One more time. It is a template, so I have to save as like this. If you hit options, this is how many backups you have saving. So you'll notice your Revit models, this is my most up-to-date one. And it's gonna have 3 backup files because I have 3 selected as my options, 0001 to 3. So these are just a little older, you can see by the timestamp. Don't get alarmed, these are just older backups. It helps you if you crash or anything. You can bump that down to 1 and you'll only have 1 backup file, just say 0001. Couple options. I would leave this one off probably, and I would just have it go to whichever sheet you would open it on. And a lot of times the active viewer sheet is the last one you were on. That's a good one to just save it at. Cancel. Those are the options. I was just trying to get to these options through save as. Since this is a RTE file, not a RVT file, it's a template, we had to do save as template to get to those options right here. So I'm going to leave mine as 3 backups, but keep in mind I'm going to have 4 files floating around. After you save, they stack up. There's up to 4 of them. So that's kind of weird, but you'll get used to it. Escape. We'll get familiar with that as we go. On page 37, system and hosted families, RFAs, are basically inherent element options to every Revit RVT project file. Think of them like a hosted family as something similar to a block or a cell in AutoCAD. It's like something within the system of your program install that you can go get. It's a system family is something that is inherent in your drawing. So for example, this wall of this very specific type is a system family. It's in this drawing. It's available to create right in here with just a couple selections of hitting wall and the type of wall. But a hosted family is something you have to go to more in an external database or location. So on page 38, we're going to kind of figure that out. You can open the NER01 file, or we can just stay in this file, is fine. NER-01 is a file for later on, but let's just go to step 3 on page 38. We're going to load a family. So we go to the architecture tab. And we're on level 1, select the door button or noun or command. Left clicking it. Okay. And now we have our contextual heads up prompts coming up. Well, we're gonna find some RFAs, load family. It loads a Revit family into a current file. So a lot of extra options in their local or network libraries or on the web. It gives you a lot more Revit options to put inside of this model. So it keeps things pretty robust without everything having to be in this file. Let's go find them. In this case, this is the stuff installed inherently to your C drive with Revit. It has a pile of stuff in the background. This is the folder it should take you to. We're going to go to doors. In this case, this Revit RFA hosted family doors. We're going to select door exterior double 2 light. Excuse me, before that, commercial folder. Door exterior double 2 lights. There we are. Gives you a preview, which is helpful to pick what you need. Let's hit open. I made my dialog box really big so I can see things. You could do different by hovering here with your little arrow. That's really helpful, I find. Hit open once we see the preview of what we want. Open. Now we have all the door sizes come in. You can do similar things like cabinets and various other canned objects. We're going to select that. This size door. Okay. And it's about to place it. This host family. We're going to hover in here and place it in this top view. Well, somewhere in this area. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll just hover right in there. There. Hit escape. It's placed. The book wants you to delete it. You could totally do that. It's just showing you how to add something like that into that top view. So let's look at a 3D view. Let's check out that door now. Actually, let's go back to Shift Center. Excuse me. Trouble with that one. Let's just go to a different isometric view. You can see the doors over here in the corner, added in this 3D view as well. Let's try this other 3D view. There it is. So it's integrated into the model now. Last few pages here of this chapter, we're going to go use a Revit template file, which we're using right now for this file. We started Imperial default. It was an RTE file, it was a starting template file. Now, if you wanted to create one, there's different ways to do that. And most companies will have an RTE, company standard files. That's pretty critical if you want to have an efficient company to have one. One way to do that, to make them, is by going to File on page 41 and go to New Project. And instead of a project, RVT file, you do an RTE file. You can browse for your starting template. I'll cancel. We'll cancel all of this. We're not going to make one, but that's how you do that. Do it one more time. File, New Project, and Project Template, radio button. Pick architecture. That's how you do that. Start from a seed file that you trust. Moving on to page 42. When you start a project, you'll use the RTE template. That's fine. That's what we did today. When you start a new family, however, you'll want to use an RFT file. So we're going to end with this chapter with using Revit family files, RFT files. It's another extension type of template. This one only pertains to a family. So Revit has families developed very specific needs models. So let's go check some of those out in our installed C drive files that we have with Revit. So go to File tab, New, And family creates a set of custom components used in projects. Let's left click this. Let's expand this. And let's just view some of these. So we'll get into the power of using some of these families later. They relate to how you model drawings. And we have some of these. These are within the English Imperial family template. We go up a couple notches in our C drive. C program data, Autodesk, RVT 2020 family templates. Let's go up one. All the different countries with different standards. We're going to go to English Imperial. This is English metric. So make sure you're in English Imperial. Yeah, here they all are. So that's it for chapter 1. This is our little file we started. I was supposed to delete the store, but I'm going to leave it. Hit Control Z. At the end, we learned how to navigate through the Revit architecture interface and start models. We learned how to find commands in the ribbon and understanding at the same time how you control your options while you pick your command with your properties and your options bar. The third part is we learn where to find and change keyboard shortcuts to make things similar to CAD or use aliases we like or don't like. Fourth thing is we navigated through the project browser. We're here to really see how a model works and how it interacts dynamically with its own views and legends and schedules and possibly section views and more things down the road. The fifth thing, we somewhat now at least better understand how the Revit interface is broken down into views, bouncing between them like this, live dynamically. They all can look different, have different view controls. And the last thing is now we can tell the difference between the two types of families and understand how to build a model using them. Not two different types of families, different types of families. So we can go grab them from different areas like blocks in the AutoCAD drawing and insert them into our model from a variety of sources. That's the end of chapter 1. Go back and do any steps you missed or keep playing this video over and over to help you out with areas that are confusing. But I'll see you guys in class.